Okay, everybody, why don't we go ahead and get started? It's just after 3 o'clock. We probably will have more people arriving. We may or may not, and if so, we'll just get them caught up. Welcome to the first of our Fall 2017 Library Workshops. My name is Susan Vega Garcia, and I'm one of the co-presenters today, along with my colleague Lori Palick. Lori and I will be sharing the presentation chores this afternoon. We are recording this workshop again. We're not video recording it, it's just audio and my screen so that we can archive it later for other students to watch as well. So welcome. What we're going to be doing today is reviewing a lot of resources that are going to be relevant to all grad students, regardless of what your subject area is. And we'll be acquainting you also with some library services. The first thing we're going to do is get you to our hands-on guide. We're going to be using this online guide throughout this workshop. So that's the very first thing to do. If you're not on the library website right now, please do go there, and we'll show you an easy way to find our guide. Okay. From the library website homepage, you can see the quick search area here. The last tab where it says Research and Course Guides, go ahead and click on that. And in the search box on that page, you can go ahead and please search the words Graduate Students Everything. Those are the first few words of the name of our workshop. So Graduate Students Everything. And the first thing that you find there should be our guide. It shows that that's the home page. Go ahead and click on that. And your page should look like mine. You will see my screen in between your monitor and the monitor of the student sitting next to you. Is everybody there? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, why don't you close out of there? And that's okay. And go ahead and just get into Google Chrome. And here. And in here, type Graduate Students Everything. And you should find it that way. Okay, getting a few people caught up and then we'll get started. Okay, when you get to that guide, you'll see that our learning goals for the workshop are listed there right at the top. And once again, we're going to be learning about selected library services, and we'll be looking at a number of databases that are relevant to all of us here, regardless of whatever our subject area is. You'll also learn who is your librarian. And one thing we do want to stress in our workshop today is we want this to be about you. Both Lori and I will be doing example searches and so on. You're very free to do those same searches or do your own search or just watch, or all of the above. We definitely want you to be getting hands-on experience with the various databases we're looking at, and to let us know your questions, okay? We'll do our best to answer them. All right, so those are our learning goals, and off to the side there, on the left side of your screen, underneath the red ISU card, this is a really important thing that we want to make sure everybody here knows about. If you ever plan to do research, off campus. That's basically all of us, right? We'll be at home or we'll be at a conference or something, and we need to connect to the library website and get some good research done. When you're off campus, you will need to log in to your library account. And this box here explains that. When you're off campus and you click on a resource that we have, whether it's a full-text journal article, one of our subscription databases, an ebook, or whatever, if it's a licensed resource, you will need to log in. And you'll get a message on screen saying, hey, log in with your 11-digit number. I want to make sure you know what that means. When you look at your red ISU card, if you look at the last 11 digits on that long number that's on your card, those are the 11 digits you need to type in. You also need to set a library password associated with that number. When you're off campus, you'll actually be guided through those steps. So it won't be too much of a mystery. But just want to make sure everybody is aware that this is the only way that you'll be able to get into our full text content when you're off campus. All right? It's a little bit confusing because elsewhere in our library website, I think in the top right corner, there's a link that says My Library Card. And when you click on it, it gives you two ways to log in. This is the only way that will get you that off-campus access to our databases and full-text content. Okay? Yep, all right. Okay, the next thing here, in the center content there's a really important link there called Your Librarian. Everybody here has your own subject specialist librarian. And how many of you know who that is? 4, 5 people, 6 maybe. Go ahead and click on that link, please, and let's do a little bit of investigating so you can see who is your librarian, okay? Okay, let's get you caught up here. Go ahead and get into Chrome if you don't mind. And click here. And in here, search Graduate Students Everything. Okay, and go ahead and click on that. And where we are is right here. Go ahead and click on that and find who is your librarian. All right.
Mine's
Different than this one?
I don't know.
Oh, Toby, yeah.
I've got Kevin now. Right.
Charles.
Charles.
Hier. Yeah. We're still updating some things. Anyway, looks like we can start having people over on this side. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Welcome. Do you mind showing him where we're at on the guide and getting him started? Okay, thank you so much. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea. What's your question?
I've heard that we can use the library resources by using VPN of university.
A VPN? Yes. Yes, you may be able to do that. Sometimes some users have had problems with that, so it's not always something I recommend. But you can try it and see if it works for you, fine. If it doesn't, don't use it and go in with this login method instead. Okay.
If it works fine, it is not different from using the user password of your library.
I think that that's the principle behind it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, one of the points of finding who is your librarian is that this is the subject expert person whom you can contact. And when you have research questions, or if you would like to get an orientation to the subject-specific materials that are relevant to you, which indexes you should be searching for your thesis or dissertation research, and so on, that is the best person to help you connect to those materials. You should find their contact information, their email, phone number, and so on, listed on that page. Please do not be shy. Don't hesitate. We won't be doing in this workshop that subject-specific orientation because we all come from different disciplines in here. We have a lot of different subject areas here in the room, and we're looking mainly at the tools that are relevant to everybody. So definitely plan, put it at the top of your to-do list to contact your subject librarian to get that one-on-one orientation to the library resources and indexes in your area. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Interlibrary loan and document delivery. I want to put a shout out for that wonderful service. You may likely find during the course of doing your lit searches for your dissertation or your thesis, you may identify materials and discover we don't own them here. This is where interlibrary loan comes in. You can request those materials. You can ask for them from a different library. You don't need to know where they're at. Just go to the interlibrary loan service that's linked here on our guide and in the library website. Fill out the form describing, title, author, whatever, for the item you want, and it will be sent, it will be gotten for you, and you'll get an email if it's a physical item saying, hey, it's here, come pick it up, typically at the circulation desk here in this library, or you could choose VetMed if you are over there. And journal articles also can be sent to you, most often as a digital file, that you will again get an email, and you can log in to the interlibrary loan service and pick up the file and read it to your heart's content. So really a good thing to know about. I already mentioned in this area here, what is my library card? I already mentioned the login method for when you are off campus. But this box also explains the other login method and what that allows you to do. When you're prompted to log in with your NetID, for example, if you were to click on the My Library Card link on the library website and log in with your NetID, that allows you to do things within the library software itself, like maybe save your searches from Quick Search, or allow you to see the history of your searches, see what books you have checked out, and so on. Anyway, that's described here as well. There's also a lot of links of different resources that you can be looking at either now or afterward when you come back to this guide and familiarize yourself with a lot of services we have in place. For example, one of our newest things is we have laptop checkouts now. We have over 100 laptops available for students and ISU community folks to check out. I think there are week checkouts for most of the laptops. So if that interests you, you can read all about that. But let's go ahead and move into the central portion of our workshop today. The 5 databases you should know, that you'll find that linked on the left column of the guide. Go ahead and click on that. Much of the rest of the workshop we're going to be doing hands-on with these databases here. And once again, for those of you who came in after we had gotten started, we definitely want you to be exploring these databases. You're very welcome to follow along with my searches or with Lori's searches. You're very welcome and encouraged to do your own topics, your own searches, so that you can get some, real authentic search experience in the topics and authors that you're interested in. So definitely go ahead and do that. The first database that we're going to be looking at today is called Dissertations and Theses Global, the very first one that's listed there. This one is really important to all of us because we're all going to be writing either a thesis or a dissertation, right? And one of the most important things you want to know is, has somebody already done my topic? Because you don't want it to be identical to what you're planning to do. You want to do something unique. You want to see what others have done on your broad topic. Perhaps you want to look at their reference list and see, well, who did they cite? Which sources did they use? Let's go ahead and get on into that database and take a look at it. The first thing I recommend that you do, not only in this database, but any database new to you, is to check the About link. Let's see what this particular database is about. You'll find that link right above the search box there. Has anybody been in this database before? 2 people. Okay, so go ahead and take a look to see what this is. So you can see here on the screen, this is a full text dissertation database and the world's most comprehensive collection of such material. It's more than 2 million titles, and most items since 1988 include abstracts, and most items that have been recently added are absolute full text. The whole thing is here. So you can see this is a massive database. Let's go back to the search page of that, and why don't we get started with doing a topic search? We all want to know what's been done on my topic before. So go ahead and put in some words here on your topic, and I'll just do one of my own. I did a simple search, by which I mean I used that basic search box and I put in some words there. And I found more than 4,000 results. Now that's a lot. So there's definitely a little bit of work we want to do here to narrow things down. One of the things I want to draw everybody's attention to, once you have some results on your screen, there are some hallmarks of scholarly databases to be paying attention to. And what I mean by that is there are some search functionality tools that are built in here for helping us as researchers to work with the material here. For example, there's a cite button. It helps me know how I can cite a particular item after I select it. You can email things to yourself. I should point out, by every citation here, there's a little box by the number that you can mark items with, mark items of interest. And then when I click the Cite button, for example, it does a quick on-the-fly formatting of how I might be able to cite that. It only has a few citation styles here. Well, actually more than a few, but maybe not everything we're interested in. But that could be a handy feature. You can also email the items to yourself that you've marked, that you've found. You can print them, obviously, or save them. So that's one thing. That is a hallmark of most scholarly databases. Another thing is on the left column there, you'll see there are a lot of ways to narrow down your search results. A lot of research, lit searches and so on, really rely on having this kind of control. So I have over 4,000 items. That's way more than I want to be looking at. I can narrow things down by publication date, just using the slider over here, if there were certain dates that were relevant for my research and what I'm doing. Lots of different ways that you can sort things down. Subject, in this database, these tend to be very big. For my topic, one of the subjects is linguistics, and it lets me know there's over 800 items in that area. You can take a look at your searches to see what subjects are associated with your search. It may or may not be helpful. You can also see what university or institution that particular dissertation came from. So there's lots to explore here. One thing that I didn't mention is that when you find something of interest, just click on it. And you have the option to see just a quick PDF preview. That's maybe the first few pages of the dissertation that you can sample and see, is this something I'm interested in? You can also see the abstract. And that's another quick way of reviewing, is this going to be relevant to what I'm looking for? And of course, you can see the entire thing, the entire full text. Just click the full text PDF button, and there is the entire dissertation. You can also save a copy or download a copy of it for yourself and use it. Those are the basics, but there's more to this database. For example, there is an advanced search. Way at the top, you'll see the link to advanced search under the name of the database. When you click that, now you start seeing more search boxes and being able to drill down and indicate where you want those search terms to fall. So go ahead and try that out. You can search by author of the dissertation. A lot of times you may have your major professor say, hey, I want you to take a look at so-and-so's dissertation. Well, here's how you can find it. Look up that person's name. Look up that person's institution at the same time. When you go down the advanced search a bit, you can see that there are a lot of boxes that you can fill out to indicate with a lot of specificity what it is that you're looking for. You can also check if you're only looking for master's theses or if you're only looking for dissertations. You'll find that box listed here on the advanced search also. Another cool thing that you can do here on the advanced search, you can look up your major professor and see what are the other dissertations or theses that my major professor has directed. That can be really helpful also. Or for potential committee members, you can look them up as well and see what have they participated on. After you do a few searches in this database, especially in advanced search, you'll want to pay attention to this little button over here on the side, on the right side, on the advanced search screen, the clear form. You may need to do that periodically. This particular database remembers what you searched, and it will keep applying it into the search box unless you clear the form and start from scratch. Okay? So there's a taste of that huge database. Sounds like a lot of you haven't been here before. You'll definitely want to spend time either during the workshop or afterwards, really exploring what's in here on your topics, on authors or colleagues that you're interested in, and so on. Okay? Any questions on this one before we move on? Yes?
Does it include all U.S. universities?
All U.S. universities. I won't say all. There are partner institutions, and on the advanced screen, where it says university/institution, you can actually look up to see if there's an institution that you're specifically thinking of, to see if it's included. Okay? Other questions? Okay. I know you're going to come back to this database. It's that important. But we're going to move on because we have a lot to cover. And we're going to move on to quick search. So I went back to our workshop guide. If you do that also, that'll be helpful. We're going to go to quick search now. That's the second item that is listed on the 5 databases to know guide. So please go ahead and click on quick search. Or alternatively, just go to the library website, because quick search is up at the top there. If this is the very first year you've been at Iowa State, this is, you've probably seen this, this layout already. If you were here last year, you'll know, whoa, everything is different on our library website. The design of the website and the quick search tool itself is different. The change here is everything that is in black here is quick search. We also have a few tabs here that are really important. We're not going to be exploring these so much, but I do want you to know about them for you to explore on your own outside of this workshop. Articles and databases, this is where all of our online subject-focused indexes live. You will definitely want to be exploring this area to find your subject indexes of interest. Another thing here, course reserves. The last tab, we already explored that by finding our guide here. But another thing that is behind the research and course guides, there are research guides in just about every subject area taught here on campus. So you might want to look for research guides in your subject areas. It will point to important databases and other materials. Anyway, back to quick search. Quick search, you can think of this as several things in one. It's our library catalog. It shows you what we own and where it's at. It's also an index that helps you find articles in just about any subject area. We have a number of our subject-focused indexes connected to quick search. That's the easiest way to explain it, such that you can search across all of them that are connected there at once and find articles of interest. You can find images here, you can find videos, hard copy videos, streaming videos, all kinds of things. Let's go ahead and do a search in quick search. Right here in the search box here, go ahead and choose something of interest to you. I'm going to look for a book called Is Everyone Really Equal? And then just hit the search button there. And we'll look at a few things of interest here. Once you have some search results on screen, once again, there are a couple hallmarks to pay attention to. I happened to find my item right at the top of my list, a book that I was looking for. Great. Hallmarks. If I click the little citation button there, it formats my citation for me. I can email this to myself, that first citation I have there. This handy push pin is my new favorite. If I click it, it saves it for me And at the end of my session, I can click on that push pin way in the corner of my screen and email all those items to myself. Everything that I found and marked with that push pin. It's kind of a cool thing. Also on the side, tweak my results. This is, again, where you would be narrowing down your search. For example, I found thousands of articles. Maybe I only wanted books. I could easily, indicate that. So take a look on your screen to see what kind of filters show up for you under the Tweak My Results. Any of those can be applied, and when they are applied, they'll show up at the top. Okay. So that's a very simple search. I'm going to open up the item that I found just by clicking the title of it, because what if I want to find more things like it? The easy way to do that, when you do a search, I was looking for something that I knew about. I knew the real title of it, but now I want to find other things like it. So I opened up that record, and I'm going to pay attention to the subject headings that are listed in that record. This is a really important but very simple and easy to do research technique. And a lot of times when I meet one-on-one with grad students, they don't know about this. So I'm going to guess that some of us here in the room don't know about it, but it's a great way to find everything in the database on your topic. So for example, on this topic, I'm going to choose social justice study and teaching, because I think that might describe the aspect that I was really looking for with that item. And now I have 182 things that are all about that topic. That's going to be something important for you when you're doing your own lit searches, to know how to gather together relevant material on a topic. One last thing to mention before we move on to the next database, and Lori will be presenting. Notice that when I clicked that subject heading, it took me to an advanced screen. I'm no longer in the simple search. And in fact, if you look at my monitor, you'll see there's a simple search link here. You can actually toggle back and forth between simple or advanced, depending on which one you're in. Again, advanced search gives you a lot more search features. You can have many different lines to your search, and you can add different things in there. So for example, for my example here, social justice, that's in the subject, that's great. I want to specify here in the material types area, I want books only in this case. No, actually, I'll change that to articles. I want articles. And I want them to be about higher education. So I'll click search there. And I found 500 things. Over on the Tweak My Results area, it allows me to say I only want peer-reviewed articles. So I'm going to narrow that down and apply that. Okay, so I narrowed that down a little bit. I could narrow it down by creation date and so on, but this gives you an idea. Most scholarly databases are going to give you a lot of control like this for you to do those initial searches and pay attention to how many results you got. If it's way too many to look at, you can continue to narrow it down and filter it down to be really relevant and a manageable set of things to look at. I encourage you to take time now and later to really explore the functionality of Quick Search and what it has, what we have here in our collections for you. Questions about Quick Search before we move on? Okay, Lori is coming up now. I'll do a switch here.
try that. Does that work? Perfect. Okay, my name is Lori Pellick, and I'm the head of the Research Services Department in the library, which essentially means I supervise the subject librarians, most of the subject librarians that you found on that list earlier. And one of the things I want to talk about, we just talked about Quick Search a little bit. That's basically a combination of what the library owns physically in book, hard copy, and journal, as well as what's out there in the rest of the world. The database that's on back on the 5 databases you should know, number 3 on the list is called WorldCat. And this is essentially like our library collection on steroids. This is our library collection plus the collection of about 23,000 other libraries' materials. So there's a lot of books. We don't collect them all. There's no way we can collect them all, but those of you who are in disciplines that are very book-centric, say history or social sciences or one of those areas that really uses a lot of books, you're probably going to want to explore WorldCat. I'm not going to take the time because we can't possibly cover everything we want today, but if you're in one of those disciplines where you really need book-type materials, I encourage you to play around with WorldCat. And I want to point out that there's a couple of different links on the page here. There's a free version of WorldCat, which many of you may use now. We know book disciplines often are out there using that. There's also a library subscription version that we have linked a little further down the paragraph. They look different, but they're searching the same content. I like to believe that in the library subscription version, we have a little bit more ability to refine the search and play around with some advanced features that you can't usually do in the free search. So you might want to play around with those and see which you like. One of the nice things about the WorldCat database is it enables you to check and see, do we have it? Because you are searching ISU holdings as well as all those other libraries at the same time. Anything we don't own in those collections that you want, we can then turn around and request through interlibrary loan and get that from a different library. Okay. There's also a little tutorial here if you want to play around with that at some point. I'm going to, in the interest of time, skip down to number 4, which is Google Scholar. How many of you already use Google Scholar? Not a surprise. I admit it. I know it. A lot of people love it. It works great for a lot of people. I'm not going to do a lot here other than a little bit of tips, I guess, for using Google Scholar. Just as a reminder, Google Scholar is Google's attempt to go out and find everything on the internet that it believes to be scholarly in nature. So anything that's on a .edu website, anything that's on a journal publisher website, anything that's on a book website. It's also searching across Google Books. So it's looking for scholarly content. They don't define what they mean by that, but a little caveat to let you know, since it's pulling off anything that's on a .edu, it can actually find my personal webpage. It has nothing academic on it, really, but it has a .edu on the end of it. So just a little fair warning there. A lot of people don't really stop to realize there is an advanced search feature on Google Scholar as well, and I really encourage you to use this. Let me go back and do that one more time. In the search box to the right is a little arrow that if you click on that little black arrow, you get an advanced search feature. The nice part is it gives you a lot more flexibility in your search. I specifically want to look for an exact phrase. I'm going to do campaign advertising. And I want to make sure that it does not include the word negative. I don't care about negative advertising. I can't type and talk at the same time, sorry. By using advanced, you can tell it you want it to look for things that do not have a certain term in it, which is a little bit easier to do using that advanced box. Okay. The other thing you can do with that advanced box is you can specify, let me get rid of this. You can look for things by a specific author. And again, it's going to go ahead and actually find a specific author. The reason I did a specific author in this case, I don't know if you're aware, you can sign up for a Google Scholar profile. So if you're an author, you can sign up for a profile and you can put all your publications on one page for the whole world to find. as you're doing your research, you're going to get good at knowing certain author names. They're going to pop up pretty regularly in your search results. Certain authors you're going to want to follow more than others. If they've created a Google Scholar page, I know Carmen has one, she works here at Iowa State. She's put on a page for you all of her publications. You don't have to outguess the subject terms to use. You don't have to play around with different keywords. They just list them all. And the nice part is they're in order by the ones that are the most heavily cited. So you already know a lot of people like those publications because they're using them a lot. If you really want, you can resort it by year and just see what her current stuff is. What's the most recent stuff that she's published? We've been encouraging this for a lot of professors on campus, research scientists. Anyone can sign up for a Google profile. And on the right side, notice this link here that says Get My Own Profile. You can create your own. You can put what you want on there. You can put a link to a presentation you gave at a conference. You can put basically any of your publications, whether they're formally published in a journal or not. We have people that put extension publications on here. It just varies from professor to professor as to what content they put on here. Let me rearrange this by cited by one more time. The stuff at the bottom of the list is usually the things that have not yet been cited, and often it's because it's not freely available or easy to find on Google Scholar. You can search Google Scholar and add stuff to your profile, but you can also add other things that it cannot already find on Google Scholar. So just so you're aware. That's a bit of a whirlwind. Let me go back to my search page because I want to make sure to point out a couple of things about Google Scholar. If you're off campus, you need to change your Google Scholar settings to reflect that you're an Iowa State person, and it enables those hot links to the articles for you. When you're on campus, you already see the hot links to the articles on the right side of the screen, but if you're off campus, you won't see those. Using the little down arrow here on the right, next to my citations there's a down arrow, change your settings. And you can just change these once on your laptop and it'll save it, obviously. On the left is library links, and this is where, right now it knows you're on campus, so it already says Iowa State here. But if you're off campus, you can type in Iowa State University here, and it brings these up on the screen as options for you to check on your own computers. Once you do that and save it, assuming you're logged in on your home computer, let me say that back. You don't have to be logged in for this. It saves it for your entire browser session. If you want, you can sign in and change the settings and save, and then it changes it on your own profile so that every time you're logged in on your own profile, it remembers your settings already. Okay. The other one you might want to play around with, let me go back a page here. At the bottom of the page of options and settings is the ability to show links to import citations into reference managers. So if you're using EndNote, or if you're using Mendeley, one of the other citation manager softwares, by setting the toggle, the two you're most likely to use are either EndNote or RefMan. RefMan is the generic when you're pulling it into other software programs like Mendeley or Zotero. I'm missing one. Anyway, once you change it to the citation manager and hit save, your results page now have a link on every result that says import into that software. The drawback to Google Scholar is you have to do it one record at a time if you want to save that record. With the databases that we were using earlier, you could mark a bunch of them and save them all at once. So Google Scholar is a little backwards in some ways, but it's a nice feature. Another feature that I don't know how many noticed is cited by. This first article was written in 2005, and it has been cited since then 618 times in other papers that have been published since this one was published. It's what we call searching forward. You find one publication that you love to death, that it's perfectly on your topic, look and see how many times it's been cited since it was published, because almost all of those are going to be similar in topic to the one you already had. It's a quick way to find other similar articles, and usually the ones that have the higher citation rates tend to be the classics or their new hot topics, one of the two. In both cases, you're going to want to know about those articles as you're working on your own projects. Okay. There are times in Google Scholar where it puts the most heavily cited one at the top of the list. If I'm doing an author search, it does that automatically. When you're doing a topic search, it doesn't really put them in any kind of order for you. Okay. Questions about, oh, I forgot one more feature, sorry. Anytime you do a search on Google Scholar, on the left side is a lovely button near the bottom that says Create Alert. If this is your major professor, you click that Create Alert button, you get notified every time they've published a paper. You also have the ability to get notified when something has been cited. Okay? So it really varies depending on what screen you're on as to what kind of an alert you're setting up here. If I was doing a topic search and I set that alert, it sets an alert for anything else that comes into Google Scholar on that topic. So the Create Alert button is specific to whatever screen and whatever recent search you did. Okay? Questions about that? I like to play with this database a lot. Google Scholar, one of the other reasons you might want to use this database, some of the other library databases are really specialized on certain topic areas. The nice thing about Google Scholar is it covers everything under the sun subject-wise. And so if you've got an interdisciplinary area or a brand new developing discipline, you're more likely to find content in Google Scholar than you are in some other databases. Also, if you're a very book-heavy discipline, you're going to find more content in Google Scholar because it will cover books. Okay, so back to 5 databases you should know. I'm going to leave Google there. The directions on setting Google Scholar for off-campus are on here as well in case you forget when you get home and you want to reset that. It talks about it on this link here. Web of Science is the last database we're going to talk about. And it does things very similar to Google Scholar in that its role in life is to tell you who has cited a particular article. And it also does the reverse. It shows you the list of references at the end of every paper, whether it's a journal we own or not. So without even reading the article, you can also see a list of all the papers they listed in their references at the end of that paper. So you can go backward in time to see the older content by doing that. You can go forward in time by seeing who cited that particular paper since the paper was published. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's play. Oh, I should say what it is first. Web of Science is 2 things. It is not science. Let me say that before I forget. Web of Science is not just science. Don't glaze over thinking it's only science and I'm in history, okay? It's a badly named database is what that is. Web of Science is an interface name for a lot of science databases. But if you look a little further down, you'll see there are 3 main citation databases that it covers. Social Sciences Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, as well as the Science Citation Index. So it really does cover more than just SciTech areas. Okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into Web of Science. And you're going to see a lot of similar features than what you've seen in some of the other databases so far. The default setting is set on core collection, which is the citation indexes. If you scroll down below and look at more settings, it actually shows you what it's searching across. And it's more than just what I said already. It actually has conference proceedings, and it has a book citation index in here that cover a couple of different disciplines as well. So you're really getting a lot of different subject areas for your money here. I'm just going to do a basic search. Oh, let's do a social science one. Let's go back to campaign advertising. I would really recommend anytime you're looking for a phrase, you want the word campaign next to the word advertising because you want it to be about campaign advertising. Put it in quotation marks. In a lot of library databases, that ensures it's a 2-word phrase or a 3-word phrase. It looks for it as a phrase, not just each word independently. When I do that, like some of the other databases, the left side of the screen gives you the options to refine it down if you want further. For example, if you specifically only wanted journal articles, you didn't want the book reviews or something else, you could click that button and click the refine button, and it would change your search results. So you have many options down here to play with. One of the favorite ones, some people like to play around with the publication years. It's up to you what you play around with there. Across the top, if you notice, the default setting sort. Every one of our databases today has varied in what that default setting is for what your order of results are. This one prefers to do it newest to oldest. Google Scholar usually does it by relevance. The ProQuest database also tends to do it by relevance. So just pay attention to that, and you can just, at the click of a button, change it to say you want it to be in order by relevance. The ones that are the most on topic are going to come to the top. My favorite in this database is actually to resort it by times cited highest to lowest, because then you're going to see the ones that are the most heavily cited on your topic first. Okay, so my top one has been cited 209 times. Several places like the Google Scholar where it has the view it at ISU, this one has get it at ISU, and it will pop out and give you options to get directly to the full text of this article. Anytime you see that Get It at ISU button, it's going to give you the opportunity to jump out to full text. Okay. If you click on the title of the article, and I really recommend this in this database, this is not a feature you have in Google Scholar. It gives you a summary of the article, which varies depending on the journal you're publishing in. Some of them are short, some of them are really long, but it can tell you by just reading it sometimes, ooh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I don't need to request this on Interlibrary Loan, that sort of thing. The unique feature in Web of Science is right up here in the top right corner called the Citation Network. I love that button at the bottom there, Create Citation Alert. Every time this article is cited by somebody else in the world that's in this database, you're going to get an email that says somebody has just cited this article. So as you're working on this is a fear a lot of students have as they're working on their thesis and dissertation, is partway through, some new article is going to be published that they don't know about. Set up an alert. Okay. Set up more than one alert. Set up all the ones you want. The top link here is the number of times this paper was cited, which we already looked at. If you click on this, it will show you all of those 209 articles. And here's where I start going into a spin because I lose track of where my original result set was when I start clicking on other things in the database. The top one will give you the 209 times it's been cited. The 34 is what I mentioned earlier, the list of references at the end of this paper. Even if it's a journal we don't have, you can click on it and it will go ahead and show you the 34 references at the end of this paper. Notice some of them are hot linked. This one is hot linked because it is in the journal that is covered by this database. Oh, I forgot an important point. Web of Science covers or attempts to cover only the core journals of each discipline. It does not try to cover the whole universe. It cannot possibly cover the whole universe. Their goal in life is to cover the most heavily cited journals. So keep in mind you're not getting everything in Web of Science. Okay? But what it does cover is a nice thing. So this one is covered by Web of Science, but all of these other things in the list, and notice where it says title not available. This is because when they put it in their list of references, they didn't include the title of the article. Some style manuals don't include the title of the article. So it really varies what you'll get in the list of references. Okay, and last but not least in this database is related records. Essentially, any other record in this database that shares at least one reference in the list of references with this article is what you're going to get when you click on that button. Now, some of those are a little off the wall, and some of them are perfectly on target to your topic. Okay. There's a lot of other features in this database. Similar to the other databases, you can look up your major professor to see what's in the database as far as which are the articles they've published. Again, on the left side of the page, no matter what your search is, on the left side of the page you can create an alert If you search for a topic, that alert will be related to your topic. If you search for an author name, that alert will be for any other publications by that same author. Okay, back to the 5 databases. Any questions real quick before I forget about Web of Science? Yes, ma'am.
Say again how we can tell if this is an item owned by the ISU library?
Sure. On all of these records is this Get It at ISU button. It's on a different place if you're on the full record, but it is still there. And just get so you look for this little icon kind of thing. If we don't have it, when you click that button, it will go out there and look, and it will say no full text available. In this particular database, that doesn't necessarily mean we don't own it. It means they can't find the full text. So we may still have hard copy of that journal in the library. Great question. Any others? Okay. One more database I want to sneak in. If you scroll down the page a little bit, there's a database now called Scopus. How many of you have ever used Scopus at all? 1, 2, 3 maybe? Okay. Scopus is an extension, if you will, or a competitor to Web of Science. All the stuff you just did in Web of Science, you can also do in Scopus. The difference is Scopus covers many more journals. They're not trying to restrict themselves to just the core journals. They're trying to compete with Web of Science and say, look, we've got a lot more journals. They're much better at covering journals that are not in English, which is important if you're in world languages and cultures and you need something in Spanish. You're more likely to find it in Scopus than you are Web of Science. They cover many more international journals than Web of Science does, and Scopus also does a much better job at newly emerging disciplines than what Web of Science will be able to cover. So at this point, you're asking yourself, okay, when do I use Google Scholar? When do I use Web of Science? When do I use Scopus? Okay, they all have all these features. At the bottom of the page here, I provided a database comparison chart that shows you at a glance the strengths and weaknesses of each of those databases. And this is which one you prefer. The easiest way to recommend is start playing in each of them. Try your searches, see what you get for results. If you're finding not much in the way of results, maybe you want to switch to one of the others. Over time, you'll discover you have favorite databases that tend to pull the most results for you as you're doing your research. Another possibility, if you're not finding much in any of these, would be to come talk to your librarian, because maybe it's how you're searching, and maybe we can switch your terms up a little bit or structure your search a little bit differently so that you get some better results than what you're seeing. Okay? Questions about that? There is no such thing as a wrong database. There really isn't. Okay. So back to our guide. We've been working on the 5 databases you should know. Below it are a couple of subject-specific links. Depending on your discipline, you may want to pick the science and technology or the social science and arts and humanities link. We're trying basically to give you some other hints of things that you might find useful depending on your discipline, basically. In the science areas, on the right-hand side, there's a lot of really specialized kind of materials that are published in science. Standards, technical reports, patents, a lot of weird stuff, as some of my colleagues like to call it, okay? And so basically what this is doing for you is giving you a hint to how to find some of those unusual kinds of materials if you're in one of those disciplines. Okay. The same with the social sciences and humanities tab. The people in that area of the library have put some things here that they think might be helpful to individuals who are doing research in those particular areas. Again, something that you might want to play around with on your own time after you've taken a look at some of this stuff. I know your brain's going to kind of float after a while when we put so much information into it. So I encourage you to just save the URL for the guide. And at the bottom of the page, there's a nice short URL to the guide that you can then just snag and easily bookmark on your own workstations. Okay. With that, we're going to swap. Susan, I believe it's your turn. You're doing the writing support and the rest of the content. I've lost the
Okay, bless you. We are at the end of the workshop here. On the very last tab, go ahead and click on Writing Support. Now we all have writing projects to do, and all of you here as grad students have some very awesome writing assignments to do, your thesis or your dissertation. On this page, we have a few resources and services, not only here at the library, but also on campus that you may want to know about. I'm going to go down here a little bit. One thing, I don't think that we've mentioned this, up here on the left side, the workshops at your library box, we have a whole series of different workshops this fall that are already scheduled. And there are a number of workshops that are relevant to supporting your research writing and supporting your lit searches. If you go ahead and click on the link in that workshop box, we have a workshop coming up really soon related to Zotero, which is one of the bibliography management software platforms that we support and teach here. There's also one coming up on EndNote Basic and another one on Mendeley. These are three widely used bibliography management software tools. Is anybody here using a bibliography management software tool already? No? All right. Put that at the top of your list, of your to-do list also, along with finding out who is your librarian. This kind of software is going to be your research assistant. When you are doing your lit searches in any of the databases we looked at, or any of the databases that your subject specialist librarian can help you learn about and learn how to use, you will be wanting to mark and save those citations to your accounts that you can be setting up on these, I forgot to mention, free bibliography management software programs. Your choice, which one is best for you to use or best for your needs. But do investigate this and find out which one you want to be using. Maybe talk to faculty members in your department. You know, which do you recommend? Or what is the package that most people here are using? Because if you ever collaborate with them, you'll probably be wanting to use the same tool. I think all of these allow you to collaborate with people on a set of citations. If you're going to be co-authoring a paper, for example, you could be sharing a set of citations and both contributing to it and so on and getting access to it. And again, the beauty of these programs is that you will not lose your citations. If you go old school like I did and write it on a piece of paper and look it up and then put it in your pocket, and then the next day you do laundry, you know, goodbye citation. That's not going to happen to you when you use this kind of software. Another great feature that all of them have is that, I'm not sure about Zotero, but I'm pretty sure it probably does this. When you are writing your paper and you've gotten to the point where you're saying, according to, and you want to refer to some of the citations you've gathered and use that literature, you can create a bridge that connects to your citations that are stored in your account in the cloud and pull them in to your paper and choose the citation style that is relevant to your subject area or to the journal that you're preparing your paper for. And it will reformat those on the fly to the style that you chose. All of these are robust and they've got many different styles to choose from. Some of them, like EndNote, will not only put the citation in the inline citation into your paper itself, but also create the reference list simultaneously. So it's managing a lot of the sort of grunt work of writing and making it a much easier task. So long preamble there, but we're teaching these workshops on how to get started in these software programs. You're welcome to come to any or all of these workshops and get familiar with the software and make a decision on which ones you want to be really using. You'll probably need to set up an account in advance of attending the workshop, but follow that link, read about it, talk to your major professor or faculty in your area to see which ones might be for you. And please, please consider attending those workshops. Since nobody here is using that software yet, it's going to be relevant to you and a huge time saver. Now we all should have gotten a flyer when we came in here all about the digital repository. So please do go ahead and read that flyer because it's got information relevant to you as somebody who is producing a thesis or a dissertation. That material is going to live in the digital repository after you've submitted it, and you'll want to know all about that. This map that's on the top of this page, you might have noticed that we've been getting pings on it. If you're on this page, you might see a number of location pings. This is real-time people reading dissertations from Iowa State or theses from Iowa State that are in the digital repository. This will be you. It's really cool to see how these are used and read and accessed from all over the world. So it's a really beautiful thing to see how your research will be available to people worldwide. So do read that handout. Few more last little bits. I already talked about the workshops, and we also have some guides. We have one guide on EndNote and EndNote Basic, and one guide on Mendeley. We don't have one yet on Zotero, but you can take a look at those also and get a taste of those. We've got plenty of books about the task of writing a thesis or the task of writing a dissertation. It's not always an easy process, so there's a lot of support here at the library through books. How have other people managed this, and so on. So be aware of that. And last but not least, the last column here on the left side, beyond the library at Iowa State, the grad college obviously has a lot of resources and information and expertise to share and guidance to give about the whole thesis and dissertation writing process. I've got a lot of those links here on this page. And also the Center for Communication Excellence. Is anybody familiar with this? One person, two, three, four people maybe. Yes, this is a center that can help you with your writing and with your communication. Sometimes it's not that easy writing a thesis or dissertation or your first journal article. This center is here to support you in lots of different ways. You can see they do individual consultations, peer writing groups, and much more. I really encourage everybody to take a look at the services they provide. All writers, no matter how experienced we might be, all writers can benefit from having a reviewer or a peer taking a look at and helping us improve. All right. That's all the content that we had prepared for the workshop. Lori's passing out an evaluation form. Please do fill it out. And any questions that you'd have, we would love to hear them. Questions?
I was looking at, Charles had a thing where he brought us into like the Wiley data. How do we set up, is it possible to set up a login for those databases as well, like the Wiley content?
I do. The question is it possible to set up an account on some of our other platforms or indexes and so on? And in general, yes, a lot of different indexes and platforms in the library, the vast and diverse library collections, have optional accounts that you can sign up for. They're free, but they are specific to that one item. And so you'll want to go to that platform, the Wiley platform, and see, you know, do they have an account? Where do I sign up for that? And also, what does it allow me to do? Every database or platform is going to differ in terms of what's the functionality that it offers. But most often it's things like saving my searches, saving items. I'm familiar with some of our streaming video platforms. An account there means that you can create short clips or just, you know, watch from here to here and annotate reading lists and so on. So you'll want to explore that. Great question. Other questions? Yes. And Lori, feel free to chime in as well.
A hard copy on paper article. How can I get a scan or something like that in order to not have this hard copy with me, just one article?
Of one article? Well, we have scanners here in the library, and they're free. That's the best thing. We can show you afterward where they're located, but we've got several very large scanners, and you can email the article to yourself, the files, or put it on your flash drive. They're really flexible and easy to use and free.
Okay.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay, well, let us know if you do have questions later on. Please fill out the evaluation forms, and you can leave them on the back table. And thank you so much for coming. Hope this was helpful to you. Thank you. Hey, thanks.